CNN just getting new and exclusive video of the former president. He is at his resort in South Florida tonight, just hours away from being criminally arraigned on 37 counts, criminal counts, related to his handling of classified documents, dissemination of those documents, retention, and obstruction. Randi Kaye is out front live from Florida. And Randi, what is Trump doing on the eve of this court appearance, which any lawyer will tell you should now be the single most important thing in his life?
Absolutely. Aaron, he arrived here at his resort in Doral, Florida about 3:30 this afternoon or so. He went upstairs with his son and his team of lawyers and the rest of his entourage, and we hadn't seen him until just about 7 o'clock, where I can show you this video that I just got of him in the lobby coming down the elevator to go to dinner with many in his team at the restaurant in the Doral resort. His son Eric had gone in there about a half an hour before with a bunch of individuals. He was obviously meeting him. And there were a lot of people outside the restaurant, many of whom were fans. They were shouting to him, Mr. President, we're with you. We stand by you. We love you. How do you feel about tomorrow? He did some thumbs up action with the rest of them, and then he stopped. Some people said, can we take some pictures with you? And Aaron, he actually paused and took some pictures with some people, listened to what they did for a living, and then he went on his way to the back room of the restaurant where he was going to dine with his family, with his son Eric and the rest of his team. But it was interesting just to see, he seemed to be in good spirits. Earlier in the day, he seemed a bit somber, said to everybody, how are you doing, but was much quieter. And this time around, he was cheery and taking pictures and had a very confident air about him on the eve of what is going to be a very, very critical day for Mr. Trump.
Certainly is. It certainly is. Thank you very much, Randi. And out front now, Van Jones, Alyssa Farah-Griffin, Laura Coates, and Scott Jennings. So, Alyssa, let's just look at that video again. It's just interesting because, you've got the people at the restaurant, Mr. President, supporting him, taking pictures with him. And it's interesting when Randi contrasts the kind of confidence he's now exuding versus more solemnity earlier in the day. That he just feeds off a moment like this. It's like oxygen.
Right. This is what gives him life. And by the way, Doral is sort of like a resort. So there's people there who are golfing, who go and stay there, spend a lot of money in hopes of seeing him, in hopes of getting a selfie with him. This isn't unlike the prior arraignment. And the fact that we're talking about, a second arraignment for a former president is historic in and of itself. But he really did project confidence the night before. I think tomorrow you're going to see a president that, again, is dealing with the weight of what happened in the moment, and then he is going to go out and give a campaign speech, and it's going to be fire, fury. The Department of Justice, the Democrats are coming after us. It's not me. This is all part of kind of his plan, and I'm not sure it majorly shifts anything for him at this point.
No, and it's just the images that he wants, right, Van? He wants to look like this guy. Look, I'm coming into my club.
We now have a playbook for how the former president, gets indicted and what he does the day before, what he does the day after. This is crazy. This is crazy.
Well, when you put it that way.
like, this is not normal, guys. This is weird. So we know that he's going to be, tomorrow he'll be somber in court and he's going to go give a big, and we'll probably do this again in Georgia. This is not, the Republican Party needs to look around for somebody else to represent them. That's all I have to say.
So Laura, I'm actually just want to pull some notes out from a conversation I had with Tim Parlatore, who was on the other day. His comment, right, about the moment that the former president is in, that this has to be the single most important thing in your life. It is a perilous place to be. Does the former president get that?
He should. I mean, there is a tremendous amount of weight to have your name at the other side of United States versus. Now, of course, there's been a lot of commentary about how we have two justice systems in America, apparently only when it respects Donald Trump. We've had a differentiation for a very long time, and people are looking at now the presumption of innocence, meaning the presumption of corruption by the DOJ, but that's not actually the case here. The reason this has to be a singular focus is because every single word he says will be used against him in a court of law. Not might, not there's a chance, will be. The indictment itself already lists it from 2016. They are intending for him to make some missteps. All of this has been a self-inflicted wound, and guess what? There'll be predictably others. And so the focus has to be on the gravitas of this, but also about how do you work with your counsel to, on the one hand, have the bravado you're speaking about, to be as verbose as he's been, to follow his own blueprint, and also be able to defend his actions.
I mean, Scott, I just want to read something. This This is a little game. I'm going to ask you who said these things. Okay, are you ready for my little game? I mean, she should be going to jail. I mean, I don't know what the hell's going on. I don't know what's going on. She did so knowing full well it would put American lives at risk by making classified information highly vulnerable to foreign hacking. Hillary's private email scandal, which put out classified information within reach of our enemies, disqualifies her from the presidency. One guess. Okay.
Donald J. Trump.
All right. So, I mean,
I was going to say Van,
so
but then I remembered it was his president.
does the gravity of this, and let me ask the question to you a little bit differently. Does anyone around him understand the gravity of this? Like in his inner circle, his son, Eric, the people that are with tonight? Or do they all just, sort of the emperor has no clothes and just tell him what he wants to hear?
Yeah, that's a great question because they've got two major life events going on. One is keeping him out of jail at his age. And the other, of course, is perhaps their best legal strategy / political strategy, which is to win the election. And I mean, these are all encompassing things. Fighting for your life in court, fighting for your life politically. I mean, these things are all consuming. And so the gravity of both of them are enormous. Everybody sort of laughed off the New York indictment, which I know is scheduled to go to trial early next year. You can't laugh, you just can't laugh this off when you look at the evidence. And every single lawyer, including people like Jonathan Turley, who's a conservative lawyer that's defended Donald Trump, is on television saying, you are in trouble here. You cannot laugh it off. You have to take it seriously because if he doesn't win the presidency and he does go to trial, he's in real jeopardy.
Well, and by the way, let's remember, he announced his candidacy incredibly early, historically early for a primary to announce. And I think a large part of it was because he knew that this could be coming, and it's a way to say, I'm a candidate, this is a witch hunt. And in fact, if he gets the nomination and goes on to be elected president, that's the best legal backstop that he has. But I think this is a strategy they've been working with from the outset.
Yeah, remember, it only tolls it, though. I mean, if he were to become the president of the United States, it's not as if the case just goes away. The opinion is that you cannot indict a sitting president. And the idea of having the distraction, so to speak, of federal prosecution would be told if you were actually in office. It wouldn't obliterate the entire case if he were actually to be there. But to the larger point here as well, consider this. Up till now, Republicans have criticized him for airing past grievances, the re-litigation of 2020. This does provide him a brand new grievance about post-presidential conduct. And I wonder if there is some warped sense of reality to suggest that, okay, well, you didn't want me to look in the past. How about right now? Whether that actually moves a needle for the DOJ, of course, is not going to happen.
Yeah, in general, I like it when people run for president to save the country and not to save themselves. I'm old-fashioned in that regard. And so, it's really, I do think he ran very early. I mean, as soon as the midterms was over, I'm running for president. Trying to get ahead, not of the crisis for the country or leadership, trying to get ahead of all these indictments. And I hope people don't keep falling for it.
There was some polling from CBS this weekend that indicated Republican primary voters strongly preferred that he talk most about his plans for the country in another term. They were far less interested in talking about investigations or relitigating the 2020 election. This thing being on the front burner, of course, he's going to, and in his speech in Georgia this weekend, he talked for 40 minutes or something about this stuff. And so there is a messaging challenge in this, in that I guess the possibility exists Republican primary voters might start wondering, do you really have a plan for the next 4 years?
I waited to go to this rally, and I just had to listen to this. I mean, I don't know. All right. Well, thank you all very much.